to the Summer Showdown here in Toronto. The Mattamy Athletic Center is our last match of the day, but we've had so many bangers so far. Game 5 Justice, the London Toronto rematch, Vancouver took a map from Shock. I mean, everyone's brackets must be in the toilet at this point.
Yeah, thus far, Lemon, the evidence says that your favorites are not guaranteed to win. We have had some would say troubling matches between some of these teams right here. It's been very, very close. Vancouver, maybe much more of a run than anyone thought, up against some of the favorites in the Shock. Dallas having to reverse sweep their way through that first match as well. It's been banger against banger.
I can't even believe what today has held, and we have so many more days of Overwatch, but one final match of the day is the Florida Mayhem versus the Houston Outlaws. And I know Houston has been looking good this meta, but Florida just barely clinched that spot with a nice they won their last 2 matches basically to clinch that last spot, because it was all hell was loose in that last week of different teams trying to qualify.
And it seemed like Florida finally unlocked like the secret sauce to actually making this work, from Samajid getting super aggressive on the Lucio, and admittedly we had a pretty woeful match from Mayhem where it didn't look amazing, but the thing is, now Mayhem have learned they've got to go with Samajid, they've got to int with Majid, and then they do so much better because they just get super aggressive, and that works super well with these Sojourn teams as well. We've seen Hydron come in, replacing Exy, who was playing a little bit more of the Ashe to play the Sojourn instead, but we've seen throughout today he's actually excelling in these faster games against slower Ashe teams, and I don't think they're going to find themselves with an Ashe matchup here against Merit, who's one of the smarter Sojourns we've got, but they've also got the double flex support in their back pocket, Lemon. So, well, the team that has the double flex support is going to flex hard on Toronto as well. Give it up for Florida Mayhem.
Well, you did say to go with RuPaul, but RuPaul's actually not here. So we'll be joining the team tomorrow, but take a look at the squad. Looking only 4. Yes, yeah. Overwatch is now a 4v4. Just
Overwatch 3, baby!
Let's go! But someone leaving the jokes behind him, because this guy is the opposite of a joke. He's been, I think, one of my favorite upcoming tanks to look forward to in this meta. And speaking to Coach McGravy, this is someone who's struggled on the Junker Queen, but it's someone that they wanted to depend on this guy to flex to any meta, and he's trying his best. Now, I'm especially excited for Hydron. I have a special bias for him and casting him from Contenders North America, and the team told me that they love to play with Hydron, especially in a team-based meta, because of his ability to speak English well and just be able to communicate with the rest of the team.
Yeah, Samaj's got a day ahead of him. He's going to be playing remotely from Florida for this particular match. Then he's getting on a plane to Toronto tonight, and then he'll be playing with the Florida Mayhem tomorrow, regardless of whether it's in the winners or the losers bracket. But we will see a full-strength Florida Mayhem on LAN. And like you mentioned, someone may not be the most confident Junker Queen, but you see this guy's webcam, he's yapping away. Yap. This man confers a lot of information, and the information is super important in this meta, because you've got to be tracking those cooldowns for Disruptor Shot in particular when you're going Sojourn versus Sojourn and the Commanding Shout.
Well, although there's only 4 players here, there's 5 going up against them. They're hitting the stage. Give it up for the Houston Outlaws. That was pretty good, convincing.
Yeah, I'm not a hat person, but I would wear a cowboy hat if I could. Pow, pow, pow. Give yourselves a look at the Houston Outlaws. Dante in the center, of course. He's had himself a year. Coming out at the beginning of the year on the Doomfist. No one expected the Doomtay to come on to be one of the main weapons in the arsenal of the Houston Outlaws, but one of my yapping points personally is actually how I think that Merit in this particular meta, I think he's the smartest hit scan player that we have for this particular meta. He's so precise with where he places his disruptor shots, and it's so good for being able to either create space for Dante to peel back if he's been in a little bit more of a cheeky position looking for a big Carnage to open up a fight, or to try and isolate an enemy Junker Queen who's also been looking for that value out of Carnage.
I know the Pelican versus Checkmate Genji matchup is a scary one. I mean, even Florida said they respect Pelican's Genji, think he's one of the best. But Checkmate's Genji, I think they're probably thinking it's his second best, but very close to his best hero. So I always thought when it comes to Checkmate versus Pelican, this has been their meta. Although Pelican, I always thought maybe sometimes he likes the Echo because maybe he didn't feel like he could duel against the other Genjis, but he's been growing into that role, and I'm really excited for Pelican and Merit. And I think this an incredible DPS duo is why Houston Outlaws look like a top 4 team.
Gobajet on the cams from home, of course. Not quite here in person, but it's okay. He's plugged into the comms, he's plugged into the server.
It's convincing background.
Yes, we'll have to see if he's plugged into the Houston Outlaws backline as well. Merit and Pelican, you were talking about Pelican, it's kind of like the brains and the brawn, because I think that Merit's the smartest hit scan in this meta, and I think that Pelican is also one of the biggest risk takers, but he's kind of got like the dummy thick strength of the mad mechanics on the Genji that sometimes he can take a risk and he'll get away with it because he'll hit the shurikens he needs to get the dash reset and then be able to extricate himself from the danger afterwards.
And bumps in the road even for the tank line of the Houston Outlaws. They did just sign Doge, and then there was kind of that mix-up between was Doge going to step in as that Junker Queen, but then after some discussions, they kind of found out that while the team is just so used to Dante's leadership and just his aggression off of the Doomfist meta that just passed, or that they created, really, it feels like Dante's just better on the Junker Queen role for now, as we'll wait to find out if Doge is ever subbed in, or maybe in the next meta. But our first map of the series will be Busan, and this is chosen by the Houston Outlaws.
Yeah, Houston Outlaws coming in as our highest seed pick in this map. You'll see those question marks. If you haven't been joining us thus far for the tournaments, what have you been doing? But also, let me tell you about the format. It's loser picks the map, so we are destined for closer series as our backrooms can try and eke out a little bit more in terms of that personality, wondering whether they go towards the weaknesses of their opponents or the strengths of their own teams, picking the maps that best suit them. Looks like Lemon, we're probably going to be starting off here on Mecha Base. And
the Florida coaching staff are actually really proud of the work that they've done with the team, because they are aware of their weaknesses. And instead of like forcing their players to kind of be middling or just not so great at certain heroes or forcing a certain meta, they've actually gone for the double flex support, and it's worked out for them. The last time these two teams faced was at the Mid-Season Madness tournament, as you can see, where Houston Outlaws took a victory. So Florida want their revenge, and they're gonna, I mean, they could get it on the big stage.
Yeah, and it's important to think about how that was in the tournament context as well, Lemon. Florida Mayhem, a team of mostly rookies. Someone was kind of like a dark horse pickup, Samajed and RuPaul. They were also, like, Florida Mayhem scouting this year has honestly been nuts. Their backroom has done so much in terms of getting bang for their buck, finding the talent that other people didn't really consider as much, and really squeezing as much juice out of it as possible.
We'll see how much juice they're squeezing out of the other team as Houston present themselves. Dante leading that charge. Checkmate is a bit of a harasser in that back line. He's able to return to safety and to his team as Merit's getting charged up, looking for that first pick, as someone is still dueling out in that front line. Very, very low as Checkmate's trying to be a distraction, but both tanks fall. But one man ahead for Houston as RuPaul down for Florida. Not a lot of healing unless there's some kind of big opening trade from Hydron. Houston Outlaws will take the point first.
Pelican's gone so aggressive. He's a replacement main tank, but he's getting armor pack after armor pack from Lastro. And one member of Houston Outlaws will peel back to make sure that point is capped, and it is indeed Lep and Pelican who do so. Florida Mayhem will cede away that first control, but they don't give over too many lives in order to do it. Merit with an early poke here, and of course, Houston Outlaws are now going to try their best to force Mayhem to come through the chokes, but we didn't see Checkmate coming.
Oh, Checkmate just dashing through it. It's so confusing. You got to do a 180 and find everyone. He's so close to the plate, too. At least Lastro has the rally. He might need to pop it. Yeah, Dante's half HP, and Houston needed that rally a bit earlier. Lastro will keep himself alive at least, but for how long? Against Checkmate's Blade, who receives the barrier from Majed at the last second, just to ensure value out of this. And Florida even invests the rally, but the same support ultimates used from Houston Outlaws. And as the dice fall, it's Houston that still have the point, as Florida are cleaning things up, shoving Pelican back in the locker where they found them, and heading to the objective for the flip.
Yeah, the late ult there from Lep, it may have extended the fight, but it didn't really give Houston Outlaws the purchase of a territory that they needed in order to win up against the tide of Florida Mayhem players. Checkmate got so brazen there, really towing the line to try and build up the blade, and he was finally rewarded for his brazenness. And now it's all about Hydron building up towards this overclock and how much damage can be done to the Houston Outlaws, who are forced to place themselves in these positions around the point.
Oh, shouts exchanged, but Lastro down. A great first pick by Hydron. Really just all of Florida working together on these picks. Dante, meanwhile, is just bulldozing the front line. So is this a Houston flip? Because Florida are still trying to close the gap, and after this overclock is all said and done, Houston are still trying to kick and scream. I mean, Merritt's got his own overclock, and really, how is this going to go down? I think this is a 4 versus 2 for Houston, so this is a cleaned-up fight, and Merritt came with his A-game.
Yeah, I talked about Merritt being the smartest player, but sometimes the highest IQ you can find is just one at the end of a railgun. And Merritt manages to connect with shots that are the most crucial. And, oh, I just noticed how pretty this color scheme is, the green versus the pink.
It is cute.
Very aesthetically pleasing. Dante ready to go with a rampage. And remember, the spacing here for Florida Mayhem is going to be very difficult to counteract the rampage with.
The disruptor shot, I think, might have slowed Surmajet enough to just get the final axe from Dante in. Now 70%, if Houston want to maybe just pre-engage with a rampage, see what happens. There's no support ultimates. But Houston kind of just hanging out, trying to gatekeep, girl boss, see what it is. Pelican saying hello at the window, meets checkmate halfway, as Florida kind of just try and brute force their way through the door.
Pelicans window play here is so important. It's all about information gather to make sure that Dante's in the right place to hit this early rampage. And the thing is, Dante, if he hits a big rampage, he can end this map.
Oh, the rampage hits the 3 of Florida that stepped out the door. They try to go together, but they will also fall together if they're not careful. Checkmate with the blade. Still no support ultimates for Florida. They're still so close to it. Can they live long enough? And it's just not going to happen. The first round goes to the Houston Outlaws.
Oh, that was all about Pelican being up in that window, gathering the information to make sure that Florida didn't go too far. There were attentions made to see if they could get an early pick-off onto Pelican. If he overextended himself just a little bit, just dipping his toes into the Mayhem, trying to get that extra little bit of ult charge. But in the end, it was all just about making sure that Dante was ready for a rotation for Florida when it came, and Dante was rewarded for his patience. A big rampage. It meant Florida Mayhem were always going to be behind in terms of the... oh, hello. A pause.
Hello.
They were going to be behind in terms of the amount of resources they had for that fight, because once you get rampaged, obviously one of the first things you're going to pop if you don't have a support ultimate that's ready is going to be the commanding shout, because the overhealth can still be applied even when you're antied.
Majed, are you still there? Blink twice if you're still connected. I came from Austin to see the Outlaws. Yeah, shout out to all the fans who made the long journey here. And even the Toronto crowd supporting the Vancouver crowd was really cool to see. But that was still
I met a fan from Arizona.
Wow.
In an Outlaw city. Apparently they're a Paris Eternal fan, so...
Oh.
So had to pick a secondary team, you know, when we come to a tournament play. All right, we're getting back into it, so I don't have to talk about that any further.
Well, that was the first round, pretty convincing by the Houston Outlaws, and I think they were just really good at cycling their ultimates and mainly supporting Dante with a support ultimate when he was able to rampage. Because it felt like when checkmate and someone tried to ult, they were already half health, and it was already chalked to begin with. But we go to downtown to see if Florida can rewrite the story.
Rolling straight out again once more. Sojourn versus Sojourn. Neither of these teams are particularly Ash happy. Merritt does pick it occasionally, but like I've said, Merritt is so precise. Oh, checkmate went too far.
Checkmate! What's happening, brother? My brother in Christ.
On land, bro?
On land? I don't know if there was a disruptor shot that slowed him down, but he just couldn't get out. He was trying to duel Lastro, and that first pick from Houston is all she wrote with that first fight for Houston.
Maybe he fat fingered a dash or something. I don't know how you end up there. Or maybe the remainder of Florida Mayhem were called to go forward, and the call simply wasn't feasible for the rest of the team, and they left checkmate to his fate. Either way, Houston Outlaws are going to get the first cap here, and once more, they're going to be able to take over these defensive positions and give Merritt so much room to work.
Really, he does have that much room to work, and Florida are trying to hide in the Mega Pack room. Merritt has the space, and he's charged up, waiting for the one shot. Hydron misses his, but Merritt doesn't. Houston again with the first blood, but how does this fight end? I think RuPaul just got booped forward, and Houston just chasing after the stragglers of Florida that seem to isolate themselves. Now their goal is to play on an off angle, to go for these backline assassinations, but they're getting divided and they're getting conquered by the Houston Outlaws.
All right, for those of you who are over 5 years old and know your basic maths, 86% is significantly more than 51. Merritt right now, we talked about how much room he has to work, but it also means that Hydron is really lacking the angles to do a huge amount of work with this Sojourn because they're forced to play inside these areas, and that's only going to get worse now that Merritt is close to the overclock. Florida Mayhem may have to overreact to this and hide away again, which will once again decrease Hydron's overall effectiveness with his poke.
Houston, I mean, they could take this fight once I mean, any of their ults come online. It's really how much you Florida want to invest in support ultimates, but I guess you're not investing in anything. The stonks are going down. When Merit hits headshots like this, how can you ever doubt the Houston Outlaws? But they almost went too deep. Houston lost Lastro during the journey. They need to be careful how much they want to kill Florida, because now Florida have a chance to turn it around.
Now the poke, it counts for so much more without any repair packs to really shield themselves up. Gonna use the samurai, but it can't save Merit.
Oh boy, sound barrier, Florida anti-healed, but they go back to the point to stabilize, looking for a flip. And is it really gonna go their way? It's a pretty close fight, and it's 98% for the Houston Outlaws, and Lastro just killed RuPaul. Rampage, someone, and Florida getting desperate as Lastro tries to find safety, but only finds the shurikens of checkmate. As Florida just struggle their way. It's only checkmate alive, I believe, as Houston cap over, and Florida under the wire.
Overtime once more. Florida Mayhem needs to get on this point and touch it. It's checkmate with a dash. Now he's going to be super vulnerable, still with the blade in hand. That'll give a dash reset if he desperately needs it, but right now we're confused Outlaws to use some resources.
Oh, checkmate blade going right after Lastro, and the whip shot hits, and Pelican has the peel. What is the answer? Florida don't have DPS. There is nothing more to say. Pelican is dominating the emergency doofus. They doing nothing. And the Houston Outlaws shut the door on map number 1.
This is what we've come to expect from the elite DPS of the Houston Outlaws. Merit and Pelican dominating on every front here on Busan. Whether it came to the early picks from Merit, making sure that Florida Mayhem never had the 5 people they needed for those fights, or Pelican in the midst of them, finding all of the openings in the mid-fights and exploiting weaknesses that were found in the Florida Mayhem formations.
I also like those random Atlanta Reign haters, Gladiators haters in the crowd. I came all the way here to hate on someone who's not here. What is this? I believe in Artemis art.
In Artemis supremacy, plus ratio.
Oh, I wish I could read. Good thing I can vaguely talk. So anyway, I will see you guys all after this break.
Please don't let me in.
Please don't let me into my zone. I just need some time of my own. All these people trying to get a conversation. You can conversate to that tone. My gut eyes on that throne, yeah. So I'm never alone, yeah. All these people trying to box me in. I'm in whether it's on, yeah. Now they ask where I'm at. Making hits that line back. I'm MJ, I'm 2-3, man. I just need some time back. I'm zoned in like defense. My life gone, no recess. But I live my best one, so I got no regrets. So I'm gone. Finally back in my home. I'm working like so much. They swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now. Just leave it there, that tone. Ballin' can't beat me up, cause I'm back in my zone now.
It's the pink versus the green, but I see quite a few red flags, like that. And I think it's the 70% control percentage gap between our two last teams.
Yeah.
That was
Just a little bit maths.
a little one-sided.
Well, just to begin with on control. Sometimes control can be a tough one to get into. But you know what? Now Florida can turn it around because they get their choice of map. And the thing is, Florida probably one of the best teams in our league to actually be in a loser picks format. 'Cause it means that they can go to where they can really flex what the secret sauce is. We put the habanero peppers in, 11 herbs and spices, and it comes up as double flex support.
Yeah.
And that's Dante seeing that side. He is.
It's not trash can, it's pelican. All right? Well, we'll see how the series ends up, and then we'll see. But,
Double flex support coming up.
oh, maybe.
At least I assume so, because we're going to go to hybrid, and that generally means we're going to be going to Hollywood. If you all can cast your minds back to ancient history written on dwarven tablets, week 1 of the Summer Showdown qualifiers, we had Florida Mayhem going up against the London Spitfire, and London Spitfire were blown out of the water. They were so confused, they were mentally destroyed by the double flex support. And the thing is, it's a little bit of an IQ check, Lemon, because you've got to get good pathing, and you've got to be able to get on top of those supports before they can out-rotate you, because you get 2 speed boosts, and they don't have any. Which means that you've got to be really good with your pathing, not get outpoked by the Sir Margid right clicks, and then be able to make sure that Florida Mayhem, they don't have good escape routes for those double flex supports. And I think the Houston Outlaws, they have the IQ necessary to try and counter it out, but you never know until it happens.
You need to have this much IQ to enter the Overwatch League. Although I've questioned that a few times, but yeah, and just
I mean,
any.
let us in.
Yeah, no, jeez, don't tell them. But even in previous metas, like on a Zen, any kind of double flex support like that, you need quite a bit of a big flex zone between you and the other team. You already pointed out you have the speed, but if there's miles and miles, or I guess now they were Canada, kilometers between you, there's a lot of gap closing, and Florida found success on maps like Junkertown, and maybe even maps like this, where there's a significant amount of distance and they can just Zen poke, and then you're just stuck trying to run at these supports, and it might not ever happen, but we'll see how far away Surmajet and RuPaul can play.
So one of the pathings that's been quite interesting that London in particular tried against Florida Mayhem is going through a security room and then wrapping around through the backstage as well to try and come at the high ground of a cafe from the back and forcing Florida Mayhem out of there, so that you end up forcing Samajid and RuPaul to try and play on the low ground. I mean, it's an easier second push after that.
There's the initial push from Houston. I'm wondering if sometimes you can circle around to the top left to just have that high ground control. But as you drop, sometimes you can take quite a bit of poke. So it's all about timing and really team play when it comes to this meta. Here's the drop from Dante, already down to half health. Gets pulled in by someone. As Florida forced to use the shout, so does Houston. A first anti-nade from RuPaul hits Dante. Not something that Florida could capitalize on, as Merritt finds the last shot into Surmajet, and Checkmate gets punished again as Houston take a flawless first fight.
Yeah, Samajid there dropping down was a huge L, unfortunately, for Florida Mayhem, but you've got to feel that it was because maybe they saw Merritt's railgun starting to glow, knowing that he'd be a super easy target up there on his Larry with no one to help him, so dropping down, hoping to get maybe a little bit easier shots with the left clicks, the Orbs of Destruction as well. Unfortunately, the Houston Outlaws as a whole could just run him over. Now at least we have the high ground available as Hydron moves over onto the Ash here. This is going to give a little bit more peeling power to these double flex supports through the use of a coach gun. So now they finally got themselves a knockback alongside, of course, the snap kick from Zenyatta.
Just Sojourn is so mechanically demanding. If you don't hit that 100% charged shot, then what are you doing? At least with Ash, and even, I mean, this is an ideology that other teams think of, the consistent damage of Ash is so important. So at least Florida are trying something new. Now that they're on the high ground looming, Houston are staying below these roofs to kind of avoid that dynamite damage or just really any poke at all. But Houston able to hit a nade, as even Lastro is matching the Ana, which is interesting. And from the low ground, that's hard to do. That's a double nade from RuPaul. And that's where you wish Checkmate was there and alive and well to do anything about that. But Florida don't have any DPS. So this is such a free push for Houston. Pelican gets slept, and he gets fragged by Sir Majed. So maybe Florida can stabilize off of this.
Lastro wondering, did you forget that I'm actually a top flex support? Let me give you one very timely reminder. Houston Outlaws still, they're going to be forced to back out of this, at least until there are a couple more players ready to go. I wonder why the Ana here is the choice over the Brigitte. Maybe thinking that that long-range poke could actually suppress RuPaul away from some of these angles where he's just free healing someone and make sure that someone's more vulnerable in the time after. Also, someone has to contest the cart pretty closely here under the guardianship of RuPaul, and trying to get an anti on him could be huge.
Florida are left without RuPaul, but I mean, as long as you stay on the high ground, you're kind of chilling. Houston have to kind of cross this bridge of death, it feels like, without falling off, maybe even getting some card push where Dante is anchoring that. He has to go against Checkmate. Checkmate gets antied. He's going to back away. This is free push for Houston, as getting Merit on this high ground is important for that overclock. And there's no exchange of that because Hydron has a Bob. Maybe he wants to throw it on the high ground, but it's always good to have Bob on the objective so you can kind of distance yourself away.
All right, someone here gets the anti from the friendly RuPaul. That means he gets even more healing. And Dante falling down is going to be a big thorn in the plans of Houston Outlaws. One thing I want to draw everyone's attention to is Lastro and where he's putting these nades. They're always on the players that are contesting the cart, because Florida Mayhem here, their composition has to have someone or Checkmate just sitting on the cart getting constant heals from RuPaul in order to allow themselves the time for Hydron to get picks from above. But if you get a good anti on that player who's contesting, they can easily be overwhelmed.
Yeah, Houston went up the elevator, and that's not the floor they wanted. They walk into Florida's Blade, gets nanoed by RuPaul as well, and Florida looking a lot better now that they're kind of positioning well on the high ground and engaging into Houston without them really knowing.
All right, so for Florida Mayhem here, it's all about staying on high ground. That's their win condition for this fight, because we're looking at a Nano Blade, right, from Lastro and Pelican, and the best way to mitigate that would be the Transcendence. But after that, you're thinking about the anti-nade from Lastro, but Lastro can't hit that very well if they're up on high ground.
So rock, paper, scissors. Oh, Bob just took the elevator. Kind of the Nano Blade got slept. Does he even get any value out of it? No, he has to use Deflect just to live. What a play from RuPaul. Now the Rampage from someone, and anti-heals Lastro and Lip. Is this something Checkmate and Hydron can capitalize on? Checkmate does. A 2-for-1 swipe. You take those, but you can't deal with Merit, who's overclocking. So Florida supports are hiding, and they're going to buy time for reinforcements.
Yeah, Guerrilla Forces in the back here. Samaja and RuPaul back up to the high ground. What a critical sleep to hit for RuPaul. And I've been pleasantly surprised by RuPaul's performance. The entirety of his way through his short hour career was only a late pickup for Florida Mayhem. They started off with just Sir Majid and Animo on the team. For now, though, it's all about Houston Outlaws trying to get a little bit more distance on the cart. There's only a minute and a half remaining as RuPaul sets up an anti, but no dice, Lemon.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of these Anas are aiming that towards the tanks of these Junker Queens, but it's a blade from Pelican. What's he up to? He's in the back line. Oh. He's got close to Hydron. What a sleep! RuPaul has hit another one. Pelican can't even believe his eyes. He's got the back hunch. He's going to have to straighten things out because Houston are heading towards point B.
Welcome to RuPaul's nap race, Lemon. However, you got to touch the cart, and I'm afraid that two supports simply aren't going to cut it, mate. A boop up onto Sir Majid, a second point gained, and RuPaul simply has to feed into Lastro as to not get even more staggered. Speaking of staggers, Hydron here grabs someone onto Lastro, but in the end, Hydron's going to be the one who spawns even further away. I think I saw someone ducking into the spawn. I wonder if we are going to get a swap here. No, it's just Let bringing Lastro back. No swap over to Brigitte this time. Sticking with the Ana, and it makes sense on this particular area because you've got these long sightlines to try and exploit. But at the moment, RuPaul has a serious advantage when it comes to the Nano, and that means Checkmate can get super aggressive with the right clicks.
Oh, Houston kind of taking a lot of damage, but Checkmate's trying not to take too many risks. I think he did a lot of that on Busan and got really punished, and he doesn't want to be a liability, but sometimes you have to go for these opportunities to really make a difference as Pelican pressures Checkmate off the high ground as they duel in the skies. Pelican really low. Checkmate not wanting to dash in no matter if he has the blade or not. Lep doesn't have the sound barrier yet, and RuPaul is down. The blade given to Pelican as he hopes to farm another ult. He swipes through someone. He's in the backline going after Hydron. But checkmate! Hey, where you been, buddy? Well, clearly doing a lot of work, and that saves the fight for Florida.
Pocketed by the Samaj trans as well. Florida Mayhem decided to get aggressive off the back of that, especially with Lastro seemingly gone. It meant that there was no ante to really nullify the overall transcendence from Samaj, because of course Samaj doesn't want to use the trans to deal with Rampage. It doesn't do anything against Rampage. It doesn't do anything against the ante. And now Dante is going to have potentially a fairly open... But what is he doing back here? What is he cooking?
He said there's no one around me to punish for what I'm about to do, physically anyway. No coach can elbow this move. Checkmate does take out 2, goes for a 3rd. Man, checkmate is lighting things up this map. A big turnaround for Florida after how things ended up. Almost the ace for him. Good job. 36 seconds left for Houston.
You know, Samaj's position there makes more sense when you're going up against the Ana compared to a Brigitte, because it means that Lastro is often going to find himself in a more isolated position, because you're not going to be running in like the Brigitte is, and that means there's a wider formation from the Houston Outlaws for you to try to pick off earlier. You can see right now, RuPaul up high with checkmate. They are waiting for Houston Outlaws to move a little bit closer in so they can wrap around the back potentially.
Oh, someone took a lot of damage just trying to look for a knife pull, because that's a winning condition on its own. Rampage always available. Pelican gets antied. He's going to be slowed as they kind of want to, Houston want to break through either of these doors to help Pelican with this blade, and he gets so low they have to use Dante's shout. It's overtime. It's do or die, and Merritt is looking for any contact with this overclock. It's still not working out as someone counter engages with the Rampage, and we're left with just 2 of Houston to keep the train rolling, and the brakes are getting pumped. Florida have respawn advantage, and the road is about to end here unless Pelican puts his hero cape on. Hydron is low. He gets a dash reset. Wait, Houston can do this, but Pelican gets knife pulled. He's antied. He's getting supported. Lastro has to hit every shot as Dante's back on the Doom Fist. The Doom Tank is back. This is what you travel for. He's nanoed, and he's knocking kids out left and right, but the Transcendence is hard to break through. How did Pelican and the rest of Houston clutch this? They complete the map.
Lastro, I can't say the words, but SBD. What a pocket there, just saying to Pelican, tank the cart, bruv. I have got you 100%, and hitting the perfect anti-nade as well. Not only giving over extra healing to Pelican when he most desperately needed it, but also the anti-heal on the Transcendence as well that Samaj was hoping would keep the rest of Florida Mayhem alive to keep contesting that. Lastro is a clutch master. And honestly, if Houston Outlaws had anyone else in that position, anyone else, they don't complete.
As an Anamade, respect. Because I choke those every time. Of just, it's like a super tense situation. I forgot how to play the entire game. And you miss that one shot and your DPS is just dead. The amount of support Pelican got, because he was in a 1v3, because the dash reset off of Hydron here in a second goes back to safety. Florida did everything, including use a Transcendence, and that still wasn't enough to keep the defense alive.
Look at the support. You wish this was your pockets.
Pelican should have gotten Nano just for like a vouch. Like, he deserves it.
Pelican, thanks for picking me up in your Lamborghini the other day.
He deserves the vouch. Thanks for the mansion, bro. Like, Dante shows up for 1 second and gets a gold medal.
Still, it's an overtime take here for Houston Outlaws. If Florida Mayhem can take with more than a minute on the clock, they'll have an absolute freebie when it comes to the attack. Remember, this is Florida Mayhem's playground. The question is, how much space do Houston Outlaws want to allow to Samaj and RuPaul here? Because if you play it slowly, you're taking a huge risk that Samaj's superior mechanics just pick someone off with a right click.
Houston cap in overtime, so Florida, they might have looked better on this map, and they're learning step by step as they step up. This might not be the best meta for Florida, but they qualified, and they qualified over Atlanta and Gladiators. So just being here is a proud moment, as this is the poke phase. This is what's on the menu in this double flex support setup for Florida. The Discord orb looking for the right opportunity, and there it is. Dante is low. Checkmate presents himself, goes for the dash, doesn't get the finish, as Houston hide away to heal back up.
So one of the interesting things here is that someone can actually be a little bit more aggressive than the regular Junker Queen, because he's got so much healing in the form of the Ana who can give him over the nade as as well. And that means that you can kind of like try and condition Dante to think, oh, someone's inting. There's no way you can survive this with a Lucio and a break, but you can actually sustain those positions when you've got Rihanna behind you. Dante's on top of Hydron! Oh, the flanker queen!
Flanker queen. And Dante is slapped, and Florida just barely pulling through. I think it's, 3v2 for the Florida Mayhem. But without RuPaul, you just have very slow heals. So this is how you just have to take the fight very slowly. But Surmajad was off on another door, and Checkmate's trying to peel, but this is kind of chalked. So Houston will hold for now.
The master of guerrilla warfare, Surmajad. He's always coming from where you least expect. However, Houston Outlaws picked their moment and they picked it well. Dante somehow went unchecked, being able to move over to the high ground, actually drop down on top of Hydron. He managed to precast for Carnage while he was dropping so that it would hit Hydron at the second that Pelican moved in as well, and the burst was simply unable to be responded to despite the large amount of healing Florida Mayhem have from this double flex support. Now they're looking for a place to put this Nano, which is likely going to be onto Checkmate, either to help him build the blade or to make the blade more effective itself.
This is going to be a big ult fight. I mean, a lot of people are just 80-90%. It's the first Nano to Checkmate, not wanting to pull out the blade yet. Pelican can't deliver, neither can Lastro, and you don't even need to use the blade if you're Checkmate. This is a damage mitigation. The survivability you had was enough, and Florida don't lose a single member as if they're about to cap the point.
Oh, it's good that Houston at least die on the point here. There could have been some horrific staggered spawns. And you can see that Florida Mayhem actually moving forward quite aggressively here, potentially hoping to catch out Merit, who is one of the first to fall on the Houston Outlaws. Question is, Houston, after they swap back now to the Ana, hoping that the additional speed that Let brings as for Lucio is really going to be the difference maker, as well as, of course, for Sound Barrier, which is going to be a great counter to at least the Blade, if not the Bob. Houston Outlaws, they can try and play very aggressively for this high ground using their ults. No, you can't let Lastro die like that. No way!
From the low ground?
The double dynamite?
Ew. I have so many questions. But Florida, I mean, they're okay for now. So they just get to happily push the cart and maybe get Hydron set up on that high ground. That'd be real nice. Because if Hydron and friends of Florida set up on that top left building, Houston might be trapped.
Lastro swap back to break. Houston Outlaws, their comms right now might be a little bit here and there. Can't decide on the composition, but we do have 4 ultimates. Maybe here you have to over-invest macroeconomically just to try and get yourself a semblance of stability against Florida Mayhem.
So Hydron didn't go to the high ground. I think he's worried about Pelican just climbing up there and harassing him. Pelican, he's actually blading and goes towards RuPaul. He gets the dash reset. He's looking for more, maybe even a hiding place because he's 33 HP. So we'll see Pelican in a minute. Meanwhile, Merit gets to dominate the front, but the Transcendence healing of Florida is keeping them kicking. They have 2.5 minutes, and this momentum that they have is important, but also having a tank is important as well. And Florida didn't want to invest more than that despite having so many more options.
Hey, Lemon, time for an old classic from Mid-Season Madness. You know the Sojourn's headshot, it can actually kill through Zenyatta's trance on squishy targets. It does more than the 200 damage, and that's exactly what Merit got there onto Hydron. With Surmajad popping the trance, could not save from the burst damage of Merit's headshots. Now Houston Outlaws, they're playing themselves a split forward defense here. They have to take the forward fight because look at where Dante is. They can't leave him on his lonesome over here, but maybe Dante in this exposed position can force out an early ultimate to try and punish him.
What is Dante cooking over here? And what are Florida? It's like you got to cross the road. There's Dante on one side and the rest of the team on the other. The bomb is thrown down from Hydron just to maybe pave a red carpet, but I mean, Houston easily killed that. Checkmate unleashes the blade, and it's ult after ult for Florida, and finally they can see green flags. No more green from Houston.
That's actually such a smart read from Hydron as well to use the Bob there. They see Dante on the soft angle and they're like, okay, he's cooking up something here. There's going to be a crunch that goes on, so what we have to do is make it so that Houston are going to be punished for moving forward. So we'll put the Bob over where the rest of Houston Outlaws are, and now Florida Mayhem, they can set someone up here with an excellent rampage against a Houston who are moving together.
Oh, the rampage, someone does it, hits Pelican, Lep just falls over. Lastro's 1 HP, he might have to pop the rally, and he does immediately. Can Houston salvage this fight? Florida on the high ground. RuPaul delivers the nano to checkmate, but there's not enough healing with just RuPaul and the single target healing he has. So Houston will stabilize, and Florida only have 37 seconds to make this work.
And it's in these close brawls that the classic Junker Queen composition begins to show its real strengths in that AoE healing, Lastro and Lep, being able to make sure that everyone's topped up, even if it's a little bit less point healing for every person. 22 seconds remaining. It isn't the fastest comp, but yes, there's plenty of time to get to the cart. What it may not allow, however, is a luxurious rotation where you can control the high ground. This might be scrappy positioning from a Florida Mayhem that could be punished very much so by Pelican. The question is, what angle is Pelican going to come from? At the moment, he's hanging around near that mega health pack and is going to be able to track the progress forward of Checkmate.
Oh, Checkmate got the touch, right? Oh. I'm not ready for any more C9s. Pelican, though, I'm ready for his blade, and someone has used a shout. There's a lot of health to get through, and Pelican cuts him by the heels, and Florida are down, and there's really no one left to keep this going. Oh, Transcendence. Too late. And there you have it. Houston Outlaws are on match point.
Even 300% speed lemon is not faster than a speeding bullet, and Houston Outlaws got the draw.
Did I just get ratioed at land? I can't believe it.
Man.
What did I sign up for?
Sometimes it do just be that way, Lemon.
Well, Florida taking the last spot. I think there's a lot of pressure on them, not only because LAN and but they've taken spot from big teams, from Gladiators, from Boston, from Atlanta, etc. So they're kind of going out with a whisper, but they'll have the map choice again, so maybe things can turn around. But Houston have brought their A game, the #3 seed looking like a #1. And after this break, we're gonna find out where Florida wanna go to next.
Hostile spotted. I need you, Gracie.
shout out to the Summer Showdown and them summer vibes. And you can show us your summer vibes by submitting some cute art. Go over to overwatchleague.com/art-gallery. I know you guys like tweeting it, but you gotta submit it so we can get that, you know, the file and all that going. Cause look at this art from Santa. So beautiful.
I'm feeling relaxed simply looking at it, Lemon. I know Florida Mayhem have had a chance to relax. Obviously, with their current setup, it might be very difficult in halftime to be able to center themselves as a team because while they do have some very personable coaches in Gunba and McGravy, it does mean that without Samajid, it's so difficult to bring the team together and get that morale heightened. And I worry that might mean that there could be more spiral from Florida Mayhem. However, when it comes to this team, they now get to pick again as to where we are going. And I think we're probably going to be going to Dorado. I really hope we see their Farah comp because I've had to look at it. I've taken a deep, close look at it, Lemon, and I believe in the Florida Mayhem composition with the Farah. I think it's actually really well built with the Pharmacy and the Ana. I just want them to swap over Hydron from the Sojourn to the Ashe so that they get a little bit more peel for RuPaul, who's been popping off on the Ana.
I just find this pick a bit curious from Florida. Just looking at their map statistics from this stage, they've won a Junkertown against New York. They've won a Gibraltar against Paris, and the only time they went to Dorado was against the Dallas Fuel, and I guess it was close. It was 3-2, but it was for Dallas Fuel, so they've just never won this map, this meta. So they must just obviously feel like this is their strongest map, and a map that they can play very distantly away with their double flex support.
Checkmate. Show me the Farah.
Stop baiting them.
I wish for it to be real. I saw what they did against Dallas, and Dallas are one of the best teams we have in this meta. I think if Florida may have been able to really dot the I's and cross the T's with this composition, it could be everything, but no, Checkmate coming out on the Genji instead. This does at least give them two separate options as to how they can test the cart. The biggest problem that Florida Mayhem had before with their previous compositions is that someone had to continuously be the cart contester. Now you can have Checkmate do that as well, because RuPaul can also pocket him through that, just like we saw Lastro do with Pelican at the end of Hollywood.
And it's kind of funny and curious that Houston decided to use their own Ana. Because that was something, I mean, everyone is just running Lucio Brig, and I think they thought, well, the Brig is not going to ever get in range of a whip shot, so you're just never going to get Inspire up, and you can't really generate rally without it. So we'll be sticking to the Brig for now, because when Florida do engage, that's when your Brigitte can pop off.
Oh, I like this.
We do set up the
high
TP.
Ground. Samajid might kick them off.
Oh, we're committing! Oh, but I think the Surmajet got booped away, maybe whip shot by Lastro, because that should have been a kill for Dante. And now both teams lose a support each, as it's all chaos, and Dante just wants to hide away. He has those supports, and really not much help after that. Houston do have respawn advantage, so they're chasing away. But as Pelican went for a flank, he might have traded out with Surmajet, but Houston at least have space. There's a silver lining here.
Did any of you forget that Dante used to be a top tier DPS? Because that tracking was filthy, mate. RuPaul got absolutely dominated there by Dante, and now Florida Mayhem are going to be playing in a tighter zone where the safe zones for RuPaul and Surmajet are going to become increasingly limited, especially as this cart moves up. It's a moving piece of physical cover, which means Surmajet is going to be able to get less value out of her right clicks.
Houston moving forward. RuPaul hits Dante with the anti-nade, and Florida put a lot of damage into them, but it's Merit that strikes through the hearts of two, and the fight just goes Houston's way off of Merit just doing Merit things.
Question is, do Florida Mayhem overreact to this? Do they make the swap now? No, good. I think that this fight here is the one where Florida Mayhem can really dig their heels, and if they can start to get control of a high ground and then force Houston Outlaws to continually have to rotate through Samajid's zone of hurt where he can hit those right clicks, that's where Florida Mayhem can really drain away this time bank. That second fight on Dorado, it was such a tight space that the Houston Outlaws were always going to have an advantage with two aura healers, and now Florida Mayhem, they have invested heavily, 4-5 members all going to high ground.
What is Pelican up to? Well, he does try to dash away, but how you gotta stay under this roof and try and avoid poke damage. And he sees someone, at least is on Garden, but Pelican does manage to get out. Now it's a free push for Houston. Lep is also still coming back from spawn, so we wait.
Pelican in a risky position, but that's okay. Can get out fairly easily. Remember, with that Discord orb, your break points as a Genji become a little bit different. You actually have to get yourself out of dodge, I believe, at like 66 HP, because you can be dashed even earlier by the other Genji, because you're taking more damage.
Both teams just in this ult generation phase. They're about 10-20% away. That's a big anti-nade from RuPaul. It hits Pelican and Dante. As Florida move over to Gardens, they nano someone who's so close to a Rampage, gets the knife pull out to Dante, and hunts after the supports of Houston that were there to support him. That was a big, really great awareness from Florida, as you're not going to be able to pull them right back, so Houston reset.
I really hope that it was calmed from Florida Mayhem. We're just like, break, 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 so they shoot the Lastro shield and it breaks just before the knife gets there. That would make me a very happy individual. Either way, a lovely pair of knives from someone. That's not good. Hydron down. That means that the poke from Florida Mayhem is weaker. Houston Outlaws can move more freely, and that's bad news for Florida Mayhem because they can start to close the distance on margin.
Oh, Pelican and the blade, and all the anti-nade on top, but Dante's counter rampaging to stop Checkmate in his tracks. Dante's also slept on arrival as the dust settles. It's Houston only up by 1, so Florida commit more ultimates. The bomb on top, but everyone from Houston just vacates the bank, so this bomb from Hydron doesn't do much.
Guarding the bank, but no one's here to make a withdrawal. I think they're touching the cart's also out of the question. Lemon and RuPaul's been taken down as well. Gonna take a sweet time to respawn, and Florida Mayhem are stuck in no man's land, getting staggered here by Merit. Okay, Pelican had a little bit of a wild swap there for a second, but back over onto the Genji. Florida Mayhem made their own swap here. The Sojourn to try and lock down the choke points, hoping that Houston Outlaws are going to have to move through Disruptor Fields to get up to the high ground.
That too, but the mobility of Sojourn is so important with how close range this is. You just want to create that distance between yourself and the Junker Queen who's looking to axe you down. Houston have the overclock. Merit is heading up to the high ground. Florida have to be careful, but they also have the Rampage, so it's really Merit that has to be careful of Florida at this point. But this is a massive time bank for Houston too. Florida desperately need a win, and someone has just been anchoring the cards, so very little progress is made because Houston are actually rotating to high ground.
Houston spacing at the moment, very good to try and deny a maximum value Rampage from someone. However, moving together now as a unit. If someone can get into this alleyway, he'll be able to hit almost 4 people with the Rampage. Here it is.
Someone rampages and it hits 3, including the supports. Dante tries to help them, but there's no help. There's no life raft for Houston in this fight. And signs, oh, what a sleep. And signs of life after Florida finally win a fight.
That's just how RuPaul do, man. RuPaul's Nat Brace. Back again, season 2. Houston Outlaws. Now they've got one less ultimate to worry about, but a fresh worry in the back of their mind. RuPaul, with this nano, previously it's been given over to Checkmate to try and give these extra effective right clicks, and they could be so good, actually burning down Lastro in particular, because the brick has a very meaty hitbox for Checkmate to get up close to and hit those right clicks for maximum damage.
RuPaul's nano ready for Checkmate. They're already at Florida established on the high ground. That's a good nade. No tank in the picture. How will Houston really keep this going? They don't. Pelican dashes out and at least scurries off to the corridor so he doesn't get knife pulled by someone. So Houston at least quickly reset.
Wake up, babe. New synergy just dropped. The Disruptor Field from Hydron slows people down, and then RuPaul can hit even more of them with the anti. It's inescapable in many cases. That's what happened to Dante right there. So watch out for when Hydron uses the Disruptor Field if they pile on even further as the Florida Mayhem.
Oh, Pelican do be sneaking around, and here's the blade from Checkmate. Lastro with the rally as Houston respecting that space. They even throw the Disruptor shot down, and Checkmate really couldn't convert on much. Houston, and it's the overclock. Checkmate down. Mara looking for more. Someone low, hoping to anchor the cart, and someone receives the nano. It has to be a hole for Florida. Both support ultimates out. Sermashed healing everything he can as Pelican can't seem to dice through anything. But it's a respawn advantage for Florida. They gotta keep this up. And Houston are down Merit. They don't have high ground control. Houston's backs are against the wall. This is not salvageable.
RuPaul once again able to free heal from the high ground, hitting antis, hitting sleeps, and hitting as many biotic darts as he would like. Still Houston Outlaws. One cannot deny how much distance was able to be gained there. And this is already a pretty successful push here on Dorado. However, their hopes rest on Dante. One man, one Rampage, and 5 targets, but the spacing of Florida Mayhem, they're spread out very well, and they might not even expect that someone's waiting here for a carnage early.
Oh, just right after Lastro, who's anti and dismantled! What a play from someone, as Lev also almost snuck the cart through, so Florida had their attention split, but good communication still made the plan work.
With only 50 seconds remaining now, Houston Outlaws, that was a bit of a junk fight for a minute. It was so fast, Lemon. They haven't even really been able to build up towards any additional ultimates here, and RuPaul's been able to farm through that previous fight, especially with that huge ante. Once again, he's up to his old tricks again, so Houston Outlaws are going to opt out of that one, mate. Don't think I will, thanks.
Houston ain't that dumb. That's that IQ check you were talking about, as Houston almost sneaked the card through, as Florida tried to reestablish themselves. Checkmate has to climb over the wall to dodge that axe, as Dante's looking for any target. What a hook onto Hydron, and he gets the last lap, turns around and rampages. Florida fall like dominoes, and with 12 seconds remaining, the Houston Outlaws will fully cap.
And that was all down to individual duels. Leb went after Samajed and Pelican went after RuPaul. Each of them won their 1v1 and they took Florida Mayhem's legs out from under them. The healing was taken away. And after that, it was desperation, which Florida Mayhem could not turn into a full defense. Still, that was a meaty time bank, and it got absolutely cut down by Florida Mayhem. It's easy to see why they wanted to go to Dorado. The double flex support here is excelling, but on the attack, Lemon, it can be a little bit less effective because you've got to claim that space yourself. You can't force Houston Outlaws to come into Sir Marget's sightlines as easily as when Houston Outlaws have to escort the cart all that way by themselves.
It's match point for Houston, and Florida have to full cap the map to give themselves another chance. And Houston, they met their match. I think point C was contested. Florida, I think one of their first fights on point C, it felt like, although point A was kind of a mess from either side. So Florida are improving, but if it takes this long, you're gonna face the lower bracket. But Florida have to put their heads together. They look quiet on the bench while you have Pelican kind of fist-bumping Merritt, who's just looks uncaffeinated at the moment. But it's fine. Florida.
I don't even have a coffee for this.
Florida ready to leave the gates for one last haul.
Hydron. Early peek and early headshots. What a freak.
This is the Hydron we have been waiting for. He was known for his widow back in my day, but in Florida, he returns to the Sojourn and needs to hit those shots. Oh.
Nice shot, bro. You handsome. You know what? I ain't going to argue it. Houston Outlaws forced to give away a huge amount of ground here, and maybe this will give time for Florida Mayhem to try and find an early opening on Houston Outlaws. At the moment, it's a little bit of a cooldown reset, so Samajed and RuPaul now offer that double flex support. They aren't going to have a significant advantage except from Checkmate, who should be further ahead from Pelican in terms of the ult charge, but Houston Outlaws hit a really good disengage here to deny that.
I really like the map coverage from Hydron. He kind of closes out any corner that Pelican would try to sneak and maybe get any backline pressure, as Hydron continues to harass Pelican, but Hydron's been forced to use jump, and he dropped to half health, forcing, I think, the shout out of Florida, as it's all chaotic. Houston not knowing when to engage, but respecting that distance and playing ring around the rosy around the statue. Hydron full charge, misses the shot, no connection there, as Florida back and forth. RuPaul's shield bashes away. Pelican goes after him now that the important cooldown is gone, and Dante gets the finish. And without that healing, Sermajet has to make a decision whether to use the barrier, and he decides against it to wait for the blade from Pelican.
I would have loved for Sir Marget to have hit that barrier the second he got it. It was an unbelievably fast build on the sound barrier and could have hit it before RuPaul fell down, but I think Sir Marget is feeling the pressure to make sure that Pelican can't wipe his team with a well-placed blade. We know that Pelican is a mechanical monster when it comes to the Genji, so if his blade isn't dealt with physically with something like a sound barrier or a well-placed rally and shout, he can get himself a lot of purchase. Now, once again, Florida Mayhem have to move through this choke point. You can see from someone burning, but the dynamite can be a real issue here. You've got to try and find your openings after that dynamite has been used.
Well, there's going to be an opening created, all right, especially once this bomb is thrown down from Merritt. Let's see if Florida have what it takes to withstand it. They start the RuPaul rally. The overhealth is enough for Houston to back away as they keep the bomb on the card just to stop its progression, as Houston kind of gather their bearings and re-engage with the Lastro rally. The later ultimate, the better, and Florida are dismantled.
And Sir Marget, he's just holding his barrier for this blade. Unfortunately, Pelican, he's happy to simply hold the blade in its sheath. And Lep takes out Checkmate just before he can reach the exit. 99% on the blade. Florida Mayhem, they are going to have plenty of resources for this next fight, but what they don't have is for position. And that means that every time they approach, Merit is simply taking away their health, taking away things like the amp, like the shout, and forcing them to react to these dynamites. Is really messing with Florida's overall game plan. They can't get a clean engage right now.
Florida just need a clean point A. I don't think you want to go into the lower bracket after a full hold. Checkmate's in the back. He has the blade, but Lep, the barrier, has his name on it. Checkmate receives a barrier of his own just to keep him kicking. As he goes to kick Pelican in the face, he escapes into the shadows. Florida keep engaging, but they're hit by Dante's rampage that hits RuPaul and someone. And Hydron's overclock has enough space. Pelican can't even believe he died to that, and he will respect it later. 33 seconds, and Florida, I mean, it's a 3 versus 1. So that's a clean fight in Florida, able to get point A.
Not sure if it was a poor timing on the blade from Pelican or an amazing timing on the on the rampage from someone managing to catch just the periphery of that AoE onto Pelican, ensuring that there'd be no healing available. And of course, the overhealth had already been used. Now Florida Mayhem. It's not a meaty time bank to get through point B, but this is going to be troublesome overall. No ults to try and force a fight on their own terms. Houston Outlaws, it's going to be all about how they decide to take this from high ground.
Florida lost so much time on point A, so you need to pray for a miracle, and it might be Checkmate who's already pressuring the high ground, but at the back it's Pelican harassing Hydron, forcing out the jump. Pelican dashes back to safety, as now Florida just have to gather themselves. They have the high ground though, so it's about how Houston want to approach this. They've taken position over on Gardens, and speeding Pelican around in different positions has helped kind of keep Florida on their toes. They really don't know what's coming.
Checkmate brought them easily. Healed on up here as Merit gets closer to that ball. Pelican's going to have to demand healing here from Lashra. That's going to soak up a couple of packs. That's why Checkmate's going on to other targets.
Oh, the Merit Bob just set up right at the door of Gardens, so Florida, all they have to do is put that thing in reverse or die to it. And someone at Checkmate could not find safety in time, so Houston have brought this down to a minute 40.
These precious seconds are draining away now here for Florida Mayhem. They desperately want this series to continue to go to a map 4. They've been able to pick 2 separate maps where their double flex support has been its best. But on the attack, Florida Mayhem know that it serves them better to have the speed and ferocity that Sir Marget's Lucio brings to the table. They can force an engagement here with a rally, but they'd be probably poorly suited to do it early when Houston Outlaws can still just disengage.
Dante is so low. I can't believe Houston are extending like this, but Merit's taking pot shots, and Florida thought they had the upper hand. As soon as they went to approach to go after Dante, Merit's getting pick after pick. And, you know, there was the Lashra rally just in case. But now that that's out of the picture, Checkmate enters the scene. He tries to cut through the support, but there's so much healing and disruption, but Florida follow behind them, and they seem to do okay for now, but the time is not on their side.
Florida there made a really good macro play out of what was a bad situation with only 4 players alive because Hydron got picked off early. They actually had RuPaul kite backwards with the rally to try and survive the Houston Outlaws rally engagement came through with the speed boost. They knew that Houston Outlaws would stay there and overextend with the stacking overhealth that they got. So they figured that after Lastro's rally is expended, Checkmate would be in a great position to get value out of that blade cut. Someone cannot die here.
Someone's getting beat down from behind. What is happening? Houston arriving like a train, and that's a great first pick as Houston hope to reestablish themselves on the objective, and they rampage in and sets up the pins for Pelican to knock them down. RuPaul does shield bash away, but I don't think you can stop because Pelican's ready at your spawn room doors to prevent you from going back home. Few more seconds remaining, and Houston Outlaws will take the series 3-0.
Our highest seeds, number 3 in the tournament, Lemon. They did decide that Florida Mayhem would be their target of choice after a lot of players were the cope. Okay. Well, let's just say Florida Mayhem, they chose...
He's like, oh, we're done.
Yeah, they chose to come to the tournament. They got the 3.
Go in handshake. Why is Pelican looking so confused?
Oh, yummy, tasty jersey.
He's like, well... Cammy saw you conquered, and he's like, now what? Who's next? But they forgot what the stage is like. You actually have to go up and interact with other people on land, so here are the handshakes coming in, and Florida will have their 5th member join them tomorrow. Maybe that'll help make things a little bit less messy.
Yeah, hopefully that will turn things around. I think for Florida Mayhem in particular, they're going to be able to do a lot better in terms of the spirit of the game, just having Majid there beside him, so you can look over to your main spot, but like, I'm with you, mate. you go aggressive, and I will follow you to the death, and it's so difficult to do that when Sir Majid's elsewhere, but he's on the grind. Into the match, into the plane, into the match again.
Isn't this our first 3-0 of the day, too?
I think it is.
I think so. Because even like Dallas went to 5, like it was 3-1 for Shock. I mean, Houston, just saying, we're the only ones who could do it cleanly. So, but I feel like I don't have a good radar on Houston Outlaws. Was this a big enough challenge to them? Did we really see Houston sweat? Maybe not. But hey, Rookie Lep there saying hello. But we want to give a special hello to Danny on the stage with an interview.
Thank you guys very much. Hello, everybody. I'm here joined now by Pelican from Houston Outlaws. Congratulations on the win. Now, I do want to ask, Florida is a unique team, I think, in this meta and this stage because they have been running that flex support composition a lot. So did you guys know that? And also, if you guys did, how did you guys use that to your advantage for today's match? 자, 오늘 승리를 축하드리면서 오늘 플로리다와의 경기, 제가 봤을 때 플로리다 좀 굉장히 좀 특별한 팀이라고 생각을 해요. 왜냐하면은 이제 다른 팀과 다르게 투서빌 조합을 계속 기용을 하는 팀이기 때문에 좀 그거를 알고 계셨는지 또 그리고 알고 계셨다면 좀 그걸 어떻게 이용을 해서 오늘 승리를 거두시게 되셨나요?
일단은 투서빌 알고 있었는데 너무 건방지더라고요. 그래가지고 그냥 아무 생각 없이 그냥 때렸더니 죽더라고요. 예.
I mean, we definitely did know that they were going to run the two flex support competition. All I want to say is, it just kind of made me chuckle. I didn't really think too much about it. There was no need for me to think. We just beat them to the ground, and that's how we got the win. You did beat them to the ground. 진짜 좀 많이 패셨더라고요. Did you ever feel bad today during the match? 좀 너무 팬 것 같은데 좀 미안하진 않나요?
아니, 못하면 맞아야죠.
Oh, okay. Pelican says, if you're bad, then you just have to take the beating. I mean, I also feel like Houston Outlaws have been looking fantastic. This whole, stage and also the past couple matches. Pelican, do you think that this stage or the Summer Showdown tournament is going to be the tournament for Houston Outlaws to win it all? 자, 마지막 질문은 요즘 들어서 휴스턴이 좀 날아다니잖아요. 좋은 모습을 굉장히 많이 보여주고 있는데 펠리칸 선수가 보셨을 때 좀 어떻게 이번 썸머 쇼다운 토너먼트 휴스턴 팀이 우승을 할 수 있을 거라고 생각을 하시나요?
뭐 당연한 거고 일단은 제가 진짜 못하는 거 아니면은 웬만해서는 저희가 우승할 수 있다라고 생각합니다.
I 100% think it's of course. He says of course, unless I fumble really hard or I am bad. If that's not the case, Houston Outlaws are going to win the Summer Showdown tournament. Everybody, give it up for Pelican one more time. Thank you so much, and again, big congratulations on the win. Now send it back to the casters. Take it away.
Well, at least the person who traveled all the way here got to see a Houston Outlaws victory. And after that interview, they're feeling really confident on going all the way to the finals and taking it all. But their next opponent is the San Francisco Shock. So, oh, man.
Well, Shock did show themselves a couple of weaknesses today against the Vancouver Titans. That was surprisingly close, but I think we could say that Vancouver Titans really played up to the Shock rather than Shock being the ones who sort of like fumbled a little bit. We saw King have a bunch of pop-off moments, and of course Aspire has always been one of our statistical top performers when it comes to the Sojourn. You cannot say that like he's not performing if it is a Shock fumble. So I think that we are going to have an incredibly close matchup, and Merit versus Kilo is going to be particularly impressive as well.
That's going to be scary, especially proper. I mean, that's going to be incredible. But Florida Mayhem's road is not over yet. They have to go up against the Vancouver Titans to see really which Canadian team is going to make it further into the lower bracket, because if Vancouver and Toronto kind of win their matches, we might see a Canada versus Canada. So that might be kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be real fun. But when it comes to fun, I had fun watching a particular player in this matchup. Blades and knives may have sliced through flesh, but his words were also violent. Who's your player of the match? It is, of course, Pelican, the replacement main tank when Dante fell.
This moment, man.
And what a clutch god. Doing this in overtime as well, by the way, when he's the one who has to touch. That is unbelievably brave. But Pelican, he knows to trust in himself.
We already have a chatty here who decided to pump 30 push-ups, but look at what Pelican does to Florida by himself. With, of course, you got to give it up to Florida's support line for, you know, allowing that, or sorry, Houston support line, of course, for allowing that to happen. Maybe Florida support's dying allowed that to happen. But that was an incredible match for Houston, not dropping a single match. But Florida, maybe I had a lot of expectations. You know, they ended off the qualifiers really well and were able to clinch that final spot, but this was not a great look for them. It is their first match. They looked quiet on the bench, but Pelican is the one who was the loudest. I mean, even on the bench, he was yelling, giving high fives, and Mara's like, I'm trying to focus, dude.
Man, I'm just out here trying to play some Overwatch. Come on, bro. Don't be like that. Well, I'm also very happy to see some consistency from the Outlaws as well, right? Because we had that weird dip in the mid-season after Piggy was released, and we're like, are they broken? Has something happened?
Broken?
Has something happened to the Outlaws? Are they okay? They just didn't turn up for a match against London Spitfire. We're like, all right. Was Pelican the lucky charm? Was he the Hureg? But it seems like even with Piggy gone, we have seen these players knuckle down when it comes to being able to perform on the land. They weren't intimidated by the crowd. I think the crowd actually loves the Houston Outlaws quite a bit here. And you know what? I
at
think
least
I
three
do
people
as well.
do. I've spotted at least 3 Houston jerseys out there, so that's pretty good. And they're looking like a top 3 team. Honestly, they're looking scary. But Florida, their journey continues in the lower bracket along with other teams. That was our final match of the day, but you want to stay tuned because the Watchpoint post show is coming right up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome to Watchpoint. It's Puckett alongside his furry friends. We have Custa, we have Johnny. His suit is better than Custa's, but guys, we got to talk about Overwatch today, and we just saw Florida versus Houston. Houston, hottest 3-0 of the entire day. The only 3-0 that we've seen.
Yeah, it was a pretty clean victory from the Houston Outlaws, pretty textbook. There was a little bit of stumbling when we went over to that Hollywood. We saw Lastro move over to that Anna, which had mixed success.
Mixed success, yeah, you know.
But it was pretty much what we expected. The Florida Mayhem, they did qualify. It's good to see them here, but the Houston Outlaws just outclassed them. They're just more consistent in this meta. Obviously, Pelican had a great performance on that Genji, but Merit, Dante, everyone just performing at this level. I think Lemon Kiwi said it as well. It's kind of interesting because this isn't a great gauge for where the Houston Outlaws are. They play their match tomorrow against the San Francisco Shock. That will be the real test.
And I'm excited to see Houston. Coming off this 3-0, you got to feel confident. It wasn't as clean, though, as we expected, especially in that second map. A Doomfist came out, Johnny, shortly after we took to Twitter.
It come out 15 seconds of Doomfist to cap things off. Oh, it's right here as well. When Dante comes back to the Doomfist.
But we should be watching.
Yeah. The Doomfist, it's coming.
The Nano came out, just what you wanted to see, right?
It's coming.
Is
it's about to arrive.
I hope it does.
It's coming.
Come on now.
There he is.
Yes!
Sorry, Dante!
Dante
and it's gone.
Pelican cleaned it up, but we all know who deserves the honors of that play.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, this was a fantastic showing for the Outlaws to open up your summer showdown. You're coming out. You're feeling good. Who is the star player, though? Because we argued, does Pelican deserve the MVP honors? Do you give it to someone else on the squad? Custa, who's shining for Houston in your eyes?
Okay, here's the thing. I've already highlighted American Pelican Dante. The one that we don't talk about enough is Lastro. Lastro on that brig has some of the highest statistics, is absolutely incredible, but his ability to go over to Honor as well in case they ever need it. I think Lastro's been having a great performance. It's kind of difficult to highlight support players in this meta because it's very ultimate usage dependent. It's hard to really know with positioning, but I think Lastro consistently puts up good performance.
Ana has always had some of the coolest highlights, especially those sleeps. We saw them all day long from the Mayhem. Does the Ana ever pay off for this squad in this tournament, Johnny?
It has to. It's honestly Florida. It has to. All right. Look, it's the Florida Mayhem's best chance, all right? They're playing against the Vancouver Titans tomorrow in a lower bracket match. If you lose, you're eliminated. You're out. So the Florida Mayhem, I honestly do think that the Ana is their best chance to get a victory against the Vancouver Titans. Look, the Houston Outlaws, they got a good coaching staff. They got Jake behind them, you know. They figure it out. They knew how to beat it. Vancouver Titans, I'm not so sure. So maybe Florida Mayhem get away with a...
They're watching the post show. Now they're going to be ready for it, Johnny. But we had a fantastic day, number one. Congratulations to Houston and all of our teams winning here on our first day. But there's only a few moments that deserved best of the day honors, and our first one comes from a Giga Chad tank who plays for the Spitfire. Yeah, let's take a look here. We got the great, the one and only main tank.
Maybe 3 mains. Okay. I'm hitting my push-ups.
Push-ups, come on, lad.
You ever just gotta hit the push-ups?
And look at go. Like we were expecting 3, maybe 5. He pounds out 20 in front of a live crowd, Johnny.
I mean, this guy's an absolute beast, all right? He's a Reinhardt main, and he does push-ups on stage. What more can you ask for?
Mr. Beefy, Hottie, you earned another fan tonight. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other big moments. Johnny, what did you pick out on the day?
For my best of the day, look, all right? We always do this. We always highlight it because, honestly, it's amazing to see every time. I had a play like this a couple of weeks ago. Let's run it back, all right? Edison didn't have the best performances on Ashe, and he didn't really do Bob any favors here, setting it off on Paraiso. And, well, you know, come on, Bob, help us out with his own positioning. Well, where's Bob going?
Bob?
Where are you at? Bob?
Did it get booped?
Did it get booped?
Oh, he got whipped a little bit.
Yeah, you know, whipped a little bit. But Bob, he was more interested in, you know, discovering Brazil, see what it has to offer. See you later, Bob.
Somebody coded that guy wrong.
No, Bob Bob like saw the doorway and he's like, no, I don't think I will.
I think after watching today, if you're Ash, just don't use your ult. It seems to be worthless every time. What is your best of the day, though, Scott, from day one here at the Summer Showdown?
I want to talk about Kaluj. I don't think we highlighted him enough.
Okay, all right.
I don't think we highlighted him enough in this match in the San Francisco Shock. Had a great play on that Junker Queen. I have one here, coming here. This is the Junker Queen play. He got it. He ended up on the low ground. I'm like, oh, no, he's on the low ground. But don't worry. Aztec had him covered. He's like, don't worry. I'll make sure you get value from this. They were dropping down.
2 of them.
Yeah. And I also want to credit as well the Kaluj family. The Brady bunch came out in full force to support Kaluj. I always respect any family that's willing to support these players. It's always appreciated.
There's nothing better than live crowd audio coming through our mics. We had it in a big way in Toronto. What an awesome day here to kick things off.
Absolutely. The crowd was very supportive, and they're going to come back tomorrow, right? To get a backup. The Toronto Defiant, who didn't really get the win today, but I believe in the Toronto Defiant
for the weekend.
lower bracket.
I heard Thursday was too early to show everything you got in Toronto.
You play more games in the lower bracket.
Run it back.
Toronto's just trying to play more games in the lower bracket.
Run it back.
It's a great plan. I love it. Shout out to all of our players today. A reminder, you get a chance to see them tomorrow. Let's take a look at the action because it's going global. It's not just our squads in the West Point in Toronto. We also got the battles going on in the East, and that's where we start with our bracket preview. Johnny, which match are you more fired up for there?
Look, we got to see Jimmy, all right? We got to see Jimmy perform.
Another one.
I'm not hyping Jimmy up to be some MVP level player, but come on now. We got to see Jimmy in the playoffs.
Bring me the Jimmy. I'm ready to see him. We'll talk about him bright and early on Watchpoint at 10:30 Pacific tomorrow morning. And, of course, we got to talk about what's happening in the West. This is going down all day long. We've got the Fuel versus Spitfire, Shock versus Outlaws here in our second round of the winners bracket.
I'm actually really curious to see how London Spitfire are going to do against Dallas Fuel. Dallas looked a little shaky today, and London looked to be on top form.
Oh,
there you have it. The lower bracket is set. Who's getting eliminated? It all happens tomorrow. Make sure to tune in. Our opening match is 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern. Thank you all for tuning in. Reminder, we're opening up bright and early, 30 minutes early with the Watchpoint pre-show. You don't want to miss it. I'm Puckett. I'm back, and I'm throwing things at Johnny. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hey! 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 Ah!